While I'm thinking about it, and we'll talk more about this, on the other end of the spectrum, when you sell the property, what's going to happen sometime is Aunt Gertrude is going to say, oh honey, just keep the money, I know you're good for it, I'd rather have those big checks coming in. And you know Aunt Gertrude used the money for grocery money, and you kind of have your heart go out to her, and you think, yeah, I'd like to do that. But this is when you're selling the property, and I call this money in the gap, where it's when you sell before you buy your next property. Here, once again, if you go to closing to sell and you end up with the money and not Aunt Gertrude, then you haven't done what you promised, right? Because you promised her that the money is secured. So therefore, I want you to give the money back to Aunt Gertrude, even if it's for a day or a week, whatever. I want you to give it back to Aunt Gertrude, and then it's your job to crank up the buying machine and get the money back in play. All right?
Back through escrow. Make sure you don't touch it. It goes to her directly.
Yeah. Now what we'll do is because, like, what'll happen is I take my properties into a land trust, and Kevin, many times my trustee, he'll go to closings for me. So I could be closing to, well, Kevin's here, but I could have a trustee there today, all right, taking care of something and selling a property. And what'll happen a lot of times is Kevin's brought in one of the private lenders, and he'll say, and at the closing, they'll say, well, they could mail the check, and Kevin says, well, I'm going to have dinner with Mom tonight. You want me to just take it back to her? And they'll have the check made out to her. Now, he might carry it back to her, but the check is never made out to us. All right?
Aren't you safer to use an attorney for this?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, we run everything. Yeah, in Ohio, we close with attorneys. You guys are going to pound me with questions. I'd like to have you hold them, if you could, okay? I'll take one more back there. You had your hand up. Yeah. Is it secured? See, it needs to be secured by, my point is you have promised the lender that the money is secured by real estate, and so what I want you to do is I want you to make the check out to them at closing, and I want it to go back to them. They can put it, and you're right, they can put it in the money. To answer that part, it could be in their money market account. Yep. If it's their account, and that's where they want the money to end up, I would assume you could mail it into that. If it's IRA money, you'll mail it back to their custodian account, okay, rather than to them. But my point is, I don't want you hanging on to that money. And the reason you folks want to hang on to that money is why? You're afraid you won't get it back. It's going to be just the opposite. It's just the opposite. You can't keep them off of you. All right? They're going to want to give you the money back, and it's your job to crank up the buying machine so that you're ready for it, okay? So they're going to come at you in a nice way. They're going to say, hey, you ready to get that money? Let's get that money working again. So they'll be all over you. My point is, and the reason I put this up here, is I think early on in this program, in this training, it's good that I put a stake in the ground on this to make sure that you know throughout the training that we want this money secured, okay? And if it comes up again, I'll refer back to this, okay? So coming in, if you get a private lender tonight and they want to write you a check, I don't want them to write you a check. I want you to tell them what? Hang on, 30 days, I'll tell you where to send it to, and we're going to send it out to my closing agent, all right? And then for those of you that have property, have private money on there, and you're getting ready to close, to sell, I want the money to go back to them, okay? And then your job is to crank up the buying machine.